If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham. It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
There's a photo that's going around where Lee Harvey Oswald was standing right here. If that was moments after Kennedy was assassinated, then how is that a possibility? November 22nd, 1963 is a day that the world changed forever. Not because of Kennedy. That was the first time the word conspiracy theorist was used to demonize people like us. Truth or Con is very important. It's where us truth seekers are getting together. Do you really believe that right up there was a shooter that killed Kennedy right there? You think one back and to the left shot could have came from up there? I think it came from right where you're standing. That's what the fatal shooter was, right in that storm drain. That's the only way a downward trajectory could come. The kind of stuff we're going to be learning at TruthorCon 2025. So make sure that you're here in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there.
Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly shot and killed.
Allegedly.
Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 126 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source for the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham. Welcome, Jake. How's it going?
Hey guys, going pretty well. We're on the brink of having a new child enter into our lives. So my wife is getting ready to have a baby any day now. And we're coming on the heels of an awesome time over at Hebrew Fest. I saw this fantastic picture that was snapped on the last evening, and I wanted to show you, Jeremiah. This is right after you guys headed out. This beautiful rainbow appeared in the heavens, and it was just such a beautiful scene. And people had started to leave for the weekend already, so the crowd thinned out. Of course, there were several hundred people out at the event, but it was just like a really cool kind of cherry on top at the end of Hebrew Fest. And it just was super excited to hang out with you this week, Jeremiah. And we had a really awesome live stream there. If you guys are interested in checking it out, go to our live stream that we had last Sunday night, and you can see some of our coverage of the recent flooding that's happened, as well as talking a little bit about Hebrew Fest and what we experienced there.
Awesome. Well, you got some great current news for me today?
Yes, we do. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. I think it's pretty scary. I mean, I'd like to know more about what they're going to do. I mean,
these massive AI brains that they're going to be plugging in from Planet Starbucks, and you got to hook into good old Apple demigod or whatever, and then they'll tell you who needs to be taken care of and who's a worthy Matrix candidate. So we go either way.
One thing: exposure of corruption.
So that people can recognize that the reason Palantir is such a big deal and how the rise of Palantir paired with this retracing of steps when it comes to exposing the Epstein blackmail kind of empire going on for the police state that we're about to enter into, which is going to be monitored by AI super devil deities, you know, like these demons of Starbucks, Apple, and Microsoft that have been sold to the US government's military arms.
Like Dan Bongino and all them, they were very vocal about Epstein and all this stuff and how they're having to backpedal. So I think it's super interesting that they're now saying nothing happened. It's weird to me.
Yeah. Who got to him? Who got to him? Okay, so not only have we had the historic flooding in Texas, with it actually being ranked up to one of the 4th deadliest floods in recent history in the state of Texas. We can see that here. Comparing this recent flood that happened on the 4th to the 1900s Galveston death toll, 1,200. San Antonio with the top second and third place, 220 and 180. Recently, this flooding that hit 109 people, now that number has rose to. Okay, so as of recording this on the 9th, flash floods slam Arkansas and Oklahoma. Again, there's water rescues underway, roads underwater, lives flipped overnight. This is in Chicago, Texas, New Mexico, and so we're going to connect today's episode to how these floods, there is some information alluding to the fact that some weather modification to blame for what's happening in these disaster floods all over the states, and it's just crazy to watch. So this is what we're seeing in Arkansas. Obviously, the city underwater. People still driving around, though. Let's check out over here. This is Oklahoma. All right, so very interesting. Here is an interesting heat map of all the deadly flooding reports from 2006 to 2020. And I thought it was very interesting. Now, all of these points are representing deadly floods. And we see this very area of Texas that recently was hit by flooding seems to be a hot spot for this flooding tragedy to continually take place. So there has also been crazy, terrible flooding just recently in Ruidoso, New Mexico. So it says here, breaking news, more life-threatening flood emergency is unfolding as rivers have surged 20 feet in 30 minutes. As multiple residents are trapped in homes being washed away in New Mexico. At this time, the National Weather Service issued life-threatening flash flood warnings. And evacuations are now in effect across multiple areas. Crews are overwhelmed. Numerous 911 calls, buildings collapsing, washed downstream, power outages. And no, this is not Texas. This is New Mexico, which is pretty crazy to see, considering what we just recently saw in...
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, let's talk about it for a second, guys. It's pretty insane seeing those waters rising up all over the country, so to speak. We're going to connect this topic to weather modification, but being as you're in Texas, how close are you to these floods, and what are your thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I think we're pretty far from it, but I would just hate to be near a lake or, be in a trailer, because it seems like those are the homes that quickly get moved through the flooding. Opa, do you know how far we are from it?
We're about 250 miles from the hill country. It's not desert, it's hill country, and it's really, really pretty down there. And lots of rivers meandering through. We do have floods here, flash floods, but they don't last very long. And the Army Corps of Engineers has pretty much built all kinds of protections to keep the Metroplex here in Dallas and Fort Worth from having any big, huge catastrophes.
Yeah, I know the reason some people have already started to connect this topic with weather modification is because there were some operations that were paused just 2 days before the deadly flood. And the reason we have these drastic, deadly floods in these parts of Texas and other parts of the country is you're getting a lot of rainfall in areas that for the most part remain fairly dry. And so when you have a massive amount of rainfall in a short period of time, that water all has to go somewhere. And so these areas are just kind of the drainage for whatever these areas are. And people have built facilities in the beds of dry creek beds, basically.
Well,
And,
basically, the hill country basically has a lot of, I guess, basins, they call it. And where, you've got like a trough, or you've got hills all surrounding it with the land lower than the hills, and they fills up with water. The other interesting thing that I noticed is that I looked on the radar, and there was a huge storm cloud area right around that area, but it didn't move. It just sat there. And that's extremely unusual. Usually we have it moving west to east or south to north or like that, but it just sit there and kept raining and raining and raining and just sat there.
Yeah, that is very strange, the weather pattern that has led to this, and we're going to cover that briefly. But before we do, I want to show you guys footage of the deadly flood that happened just a few days ago that took out all of those children's camps and caused one of the fourth most deadly floods in Texas history so far, apparently. But this is the very moment that those headwaters rose, and you can see how quickly the situation changes. So this next video is from people that were watching as that same flood that caused this massive loss of life crossed over Road 3404 in Texas, and it's pretty insane. Check this out.
Get over here, too. That's the last 4 foot. Yep. Okay, let's go back. Juanita. Wow. Juanita, move back.
Juanita!
Juanita, please.
Juanita, you're too close!
Juanita, move.
No, Juanita!
Oh, there goes Juanita.
Juanita, get over here! He's too crazy!
Juanita, are you here illegally?
Back up, back up, back up!
Yeah. All right. Hunter, come back further.
Next time we close the road down, we'll read
Oh, what do you guys think of that footage? Like, the speed at which that massive headwater comes in reminds me almost of that scene from Lord of the Rings where the ring wraiths are coming after Frodo and the elven horse water attacks them. I mean, what do you do when waters rise that quickly? Pretty insane. And as I mentioned in our live stream this past Sunday, this strikes close to home because I went through a flash flood with my family in 2021 at Roaring River State Park. Made it on the Missouri State News. My whole camp, we're doing a festival there, and exactly what you saw there happened
within
to me in
2-3 minutes. Turned around, and the entire camp was underwater.
A rapidly rising river, truly roaring today, swept away anything in its path, leaving behind scattered debris and only faint reminders of a campsite.
People lost pretty much all of their tents. Everything was washed away. People with their vehicles, lost a lot of things.
Within 10 minutes, waters reached waist levels, powerful enough to flip cars and push them away.
What was gravel before became a river, and people were swimming across. It was up to your chest, and it was it's pretty intense.
Fleeing campsites instantly became a priority.
It came a lot faster than what I could evacuate. I mean, we evacuated and we got everybody out safely, but it was very, very difficult and very, very fast.
Campers say helping hands came from every direction as water levels rose.
A lot of moving around, a lot of people helping. It was good to see people pitching in, getting people out of tents. I heard a story today where a woman was trying to get out of a tent and they had to cut it open and they freed her. So there's a lot of heroes out there today.
Paradise Valley staff say today was a first.
I've never seen a flood in any way, shape, or form to this magnitude, no.
The campground says it's too early to estimate damages, but the cleanup process could take some time.
The cleanup part of it's not that big a deal right now. We will eventually get there, but I would just want to make sure that everybody's personal belongings and stuff, that we can find the biggest part of that and retrieve that for them.
And though quite a bit was lost today, many campers are grateful no one was seriously harmed.
Very thankful to be around some of the men and women that we're with today.
Going through flash floods is horrifying, and just the roar of the water and the ferocity and power of all this dirty water. If you survive the flood itself, you probably got to go get checked in for parasites and who knows what else that you swallowed swimming through that stuff. So,
well, have we got any updates
crazy.
from Juanita? Is Juanita okay? That's what I'm worried about.
I know that she had somebody that cared about her, just didn't want her in that flood zone. And literally where they were standing, that water was like boosh, just like, so you guys see why it's so interesting to watch that, because that's what those campers that lost their lives experienced. They were in their bunkhouse or whatever in the middle of the night or whenever this flood hit them. And boom, just that's all. I mean, all the time you had, you might hear a distant rumble before the water was already up to your head, and that's horrifying.
Just turn around and run.
Yeah, exactly. And so the reason we're focusing first on this, and you're only going to find some connections like this made in a show like Skiba News Nation, because we're going to now look at the concept of weather modification and how it could have contributed to these flash floods happening all over the country. And also this ties to another topic, AI and Palantir. How could that be? Well, you're about to find out. Check out this article. Confirmed, the CEO of weather modification company reveals cloud seeding operations 2 days before the deadly flood. Very interesting. So, of course, they say it has nothing to do with the flood, and you can see this NBC News kind of cover job running damage control, but aren't chemtrails a thing of only conspiracy theories? Oh, yeah, that's right. Now it's apparently widely accepted that we just do this.
We're talking about like sub-centimeter amounts of precipitation, be it in snow or rain from every event, which in aggregate can mean hundreds of acre feet, which is very consequential for farmers and ecosystems, but cannot come close to causing flooding unto itself.
And NBC News climate reporter Chase Kane joins us now. Chase, any conspiracy always starts with like a thread of truth here. Can you explain the science? Like, what is cloud seeding, first off, and how is it being used in Texas?
Yeah, so cloud seeding is really this idea for farmers of like, hey, there's some moisture up there in the clouds. Is there a way that we can get it out of the clouds down here to the surface to help farmers? Because water vapor that's in the air needs something to grab onto, which is often like smaller than the tip of a pen. So you're thinking like particles of pollen or dust or even air pollution. So you see this graphic here. Basically what they do is they fly planes up there to give the water vapor something to grab onto. So it's a combination of silver iodide and salt, actually. And so the water vapor forms around that. Eventually it gets heavy enough and then falls to the surface of rain. So when that happens, we're talking really small amounts of rain. In fact, scientists have been debating for decades whether or not this is actually very effective to do. So even when it does work, Gotti, we're not talking about a lot of rain, certainly not the amount of rain that they saw in Texas last week.
And the timing of it, 2 days before, I mean, you know, again, anybody online that seems to be an expert these days would say, well, no, this is what, you know, started the flood or possibly like supercharged the soil so it was hydrophobic. Like, well, take us through the timeline here.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Gotti, because this cloud seeding, it works within like 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then that's it. So that was done 2 days before. So the CEO is saying this. Other scientific research establishes that cloud seeding isn't going to trigger something like this, certainly not 2 days after they were doing it. They were only up in the air cloud seeding for about 20 minutes because, again, it's targeted to a pretty small area of land, which was not even over where the worst of this flooding was, Gotti. So we're talking 30 minutes to an hour, certainly not 2 days in advance.
And I mean, cloud seeding is human-caused climate change on a very micro level. But when we're talking about climate change on the macro level, does it look like this flood has any links to climate change?
Very interesting. And you see how they're kind of belittling the effects of cloud seeding and how well publicized is the fact that people have been modifying the weather, and they've been doing it while calling people that say they're doing it crazy, is the thing that makes me the most upset, because for years, you know, conspiracy theorists have been calling out the fact that they're seeding the skies and dropping aluminum and barium on us. And as you hear how they defined it, the way it works is these molecules of water, they need something very small to cling on to start to clump together. So what they're saying is they just go up there and spray a big foggy mist out of the back of a plane, and that's not chemical trails, but we know this for sure as a fact because we see that they've been doing this in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia to basically bring life to a desert. Check out this video that breaks down how this has been going on for quite some time. And it's not surprising that sometimes it causes issues.
I have to drive back from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
No.
It's not raining. It's a sunny day. The UAE government invested more than $20 million in research to start a process called cloud seeding. The UAE performs around 1,000 hours of cloud seeding a year, and it's all controlled by this building in the National Center of Meteorology in Abu Dhabi, where they track the whole process. We met with a cloud seeding expert to explain how the seeding process works.
We wait the forecast. When we have a good, chance for a cloud, we send the aircraft to that location. It go under the cloud. In the first stage of the cloud, there is good updraft at that time. Start to release all the salt, and with the good updraft, of course, it will go inside the cloud. The droplets will become bigger and start to rain.
The center manufactures a salt substance that helps enhance rainfall. They put them in what they call flares. Is it going to rain in Dubai today? Just so I know. I have to drive back from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
So, they're doing it over there for tourist industry. and bringing in people to the UAE. But what's happening here in the U.S., like, I mean, you know, we see this map of places that are susceptible to floods, and it's like, all right, well, now they know the places that if it rains over, it's going to cause a disaster. So maybe not do it over those areas. I mean, what do you think?
Well, you know what's interesting is that the guy said that they seeded a couple of days before the Texas problem, but it wasn't in the area where they had the problem. But the thing is, you have upper level winds that can blow a lot of that stuff right over where the problem was.
Like, they've been telling us that we're crazy for saying they're doing it, and then they tell us that they have been doing it, but they've just been doing it for our own good. And then it's all connected. Like, who did I give permission to spray some type of chemical mixture over my head? That is what I have a major issue with when it comes to weather modification. And I know they justify it for the crops, but
they're just contrails. How many times have you heard that?
No.
They're just contrails. They're just
all the time.
Coming out of the
yeah. And the people that usually use that terminology are the people that are so beholden to the men in white lab coats and the system at large, and just regurgitating the counter narrative that has been pushed on us when we know there's more to meets the eye to what's happening in the skies. And here's a Sky News article that talks about how recently lefties are celebrating these floods. What in the world? Check this out.
The deaths of more than 100 Texans, using the deaths of young girls in a freak flash flood to, you guessed it, attack Donald Trump. And they're willing to lie to do it. It's reprehensible, it's contemptible, and it's sadly all too predictable. Here is Rosie O'Donnell.
The Guadalupe River, 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger.
Where was Joe Biden during Maui?
Horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law. As Republicans cheered, people will die as a result, and they've started already. Shame on him. Shame on every GOP sycophant who's listening and following the disastrous decisions of this mentally incapacitated POTUS.
No, shame on you, you broken, sick fiend, using the deaths of innocent young children in a natural disaster to go after Trump. It's a new low for Rosie, and that's saying something, because she's stooped pretty low in the past. This verifiable lie that the National Weather Service was understaffed due to staff cuts is utter baloney. Indeed, the local office in Texas was overstaffed at the time. It did issue multiple warnings, but tragically, it wasn't enough. But Rosie's not alone. There are sadly quite a few on the left trying to weaponise this tragedy to attack Donald Trump. And there are even some celebrating this catastrophic loss of life, including the loss of children's lives, young girls on a camping holiday. And why? Because Texas is a red state and the victims are mainly white. Here is a former appointee to a Houston City Board, appointed by the Democratic Mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. Here is Sade Perkins being a contemptible racist scrote.
Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all-white,
I saw this video, and there is
conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter. Before y'all come at me Before y'all start leaving hate comments on my page about, oh, these are just kids and they don't know no better, the parents of these children who are choosing, and it is a choice in 2025, it is definitely a freaking choice to go into East goddamn Texas and to make a all-white enclave.
Of course, she's lying. This is not a whites-only camp, but she feels emboldened to post that callous trash because there's been very little accountability for race baiters in the US in recent years, well, until very recently. This character then went on to compare these young girls dying in a flash flood to illegal immigrants being deported.
They want you to have sympathy for these people. They want you to get out of your bed and to come out of your home and to go find these people and to donate your money to go find these people. Meanwhile, they are deporting your family members. Meanwhile, they're setting up concentration camps and prisons for your family members. And I need y'all to keep that in mind before y'all get out there and put on your rain boots and go find these little girls.
Honestly, I'm lost for words. How anybody could be that awful is, well, almost beyond belief. There are still little girls lost. There are still bodies that have not been identified. And that's the message from a Democrat-appointed Houston City Board member. And she was in that position up until this year. Now, do you think she reconsidered her comments after further thought? No. She doubled down, and now she's playing the victim.
I don't understand all this, extraordinary hate or whatever. Like, I get that white people are not used to people telling them and calling them out on their racism and telling them about their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children and how there's children in ICE detention right now who y'all don't give two about. There's no prayers going up for them. But we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls. Again, I actually have empathy, so I can put myself in other people's shoes and understand that that's pretty up, but it seems like y'all don't get that. Y'all don't get that. Y'all don't have the empathy gene, for sure.
Yes, you're the one with empathy. I mean, really. She thinks she's got the empathy gene. And here's another soulless school saying she's okay with little girls dying because she voted the right way. She voted for the Democrats.
Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a And I said no. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for the what? CARE. I said what the I said. I don't give a and minds are here with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with being stripped away from their families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again.
And here is another lowlife saying that if these Texans voted for Kamala, then the kids would be alive.
It's a hard pill to swallow, huh? The fact that if you would have just voted for Kamala, that those kids in Texas and all those families in the RVs would more than likely still be alive. But instead you just made fun of her laugh while people were screaming at you that if he was voted in, people were gonna die. And look where we are, a bunch of parents who can't protect their own kids.
Parents who can't protect their own kids. She actually said that. How can you adequately describe such ugliness, such utter depravity? And talking about depravity, doesn't get much worse than this. Have a look at this post from a pediatrician in Houston, a woman trusted with the health of young children, who wrote this: "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for." Just disgusting stuff there. But Dr. Christina B. Probst won't be practicing in Houston anymore, not at the Houston Heights clinic she was at anymore. She's been fired. Now, she should be struck off as a doctor, if you ask me. She should check herself into a clinic, one with a padded room, preferably. And if you want to know where this hate comes from, where this disinformation about the National Weather Service and the politicisation of a natural disaster come from, then look no further than the leftist media led by CNN.
The president's mega bill, which he just signed into law, makes cuts and even closes some weather research labs.
The Austin San Antonio office is missing a warning coordination meteorologist due to the Trump administration's buyouts.
And I'm going to have a lot more on that, the fake news narratives pushed by CNN, ABC, MSNBC and others tomorrow night. But let's now have a look at the inept mayor of LA, the hopelessly incompetent Karen Bass, trying to stop ICE agents doing their job.
My comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
The head of customs.
Wow.
They'll be leaving soon, she said. And she also said there that she was talking to the Border Patrol chief. Guess what he told her? As reported by Bill Malugin, Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino had this to say: "I don't work for Karen Bass. Better get used to us now, because this is going to be normal very soon. We will go anywhere, anytime we want to in Los Angeles." Welcome back. Joining me now is comedian and host of Prime Time with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, I've played footage tonight of some truly reprehensible characters saying reprehensible things about the deaths of more than 100 Texans, including dozens of children after flash flooding. We've seen a sick eagerness to weaponise this tragedy to attack Donald Trump, but also a cruel, callous disregard for human life, because that human life happened to be mainly white.
We're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls.
Now that's Sade Perkins. Alex, are you shocked that even a tragedy like this, a natural disaster, is fair game for these race baiters?
I cannot believe it. I mean, honestly, I am here in Dallas, Texas, and Janie Hunt, a 9-year-old who tragically passed away in the flooding. Her father and I went to school together at Highland Park, and she actually still lives in Highland Park and, would be going to the same school that I would be going to. And it's just absolutely sick to see a young 9-year-old girl die like this, and, the pain that it's caused and the hurt that, their family is going through, and to say that it's some sort of racial thing and that shouldn't be helped because they're white. Like, that's how sick and twisted some people are. And I mean, the victimhood mentality that a person like that could have by them claiming to be a victim, basically, when these tragic children all passed away in a horrific, matter. It's not funny. It's sick. And I'm absolutely shocked. This is a bipartisan thing. Nobody wants children to die. And it has nothing to do with race. It's absolutely terrible.
It's a natural disaster. We've got footage here showing just how quickly this flood washed out the road. It took just 4 minutes for that massive body of water to move in, and I guess that's why the warnings about this flood did not result in more lives being saved, because the water just moved so quickly. And I've got to say, Alex, particularly upsetting has been this from a paediatrician, Dr. Christina B. Probst, who's now been fired for suggesting that more than 100 dead, including children, were President Trump supporters, and so they got what they voted for. Again, Alex, a paediatrician in Houston, Texas, for them to post this so boldly, it just shows you how divorced from reality, divorced from decency, some have become.
No, it's incredibly callous. And this camp had been there it's going on its 100th year. It's had 99 camp sessions, I believe. And so this is unpredictable. They knew, the National Weather Service gave them warning, but there is no warning to know that in 90 minutes there's going to be, 12 feet of water immediately. So this is just a natural disaster that is absolutely horrible. But for people to blame it on Trump because they want to try to, use this political theater to get their point across. They're absolutely sick. And I'm actually not surprised that it's a doctor, because, that doctor is mad, and they probably, see a lot of loss of life, or they're desensitized to this, sadly. And it's just really tragic. I can't look at it without getting emotional. And I'm not the type of person to get really emotional, but just innocent kids like this, a natural disaster at a camp that's been there nearly 100 years. Nobody could have predicted this. And, like I said, I'm friends with the family. They would never put their kids in harm's way whatsoever. And this was not a dangerous place, just a horrible, 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 tragic, event.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously with this just coldness towards the loss of life of little girls, like, oh, this is a perfect chance to push our agenda of politics or our hate for Caucasians or whatever. But what it reminds me of is this verse, of course, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. All right, so, it is biblical. People are going to be jerks. But before we connect this all to the topic of AI and Palantir and Mossad, let's look at this recent news from San Antonio, which ties to something that was brought up in this previous video, which is ICE and immigration. A San Antonio City Council candidate calls for the murder of ICE agents on social media.
This was in San Antonio, Texas, where a challenger for a District 1 council called for the killing of ICE agents in Los Angeles. You won't even believe this. This is Matthew Guana, and he posted the comment here on X in response to DHS agents arresting illegals in LA. He says, and they will get shot by the Los Angeles public. I want to see a few dead ICE agents, Los Angeles. Don't let me down. Can you believe that? So Assistant Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, reposted the comment here on X, writing this. San Antonio City Council candidate calls for the killing of ICE law enforcement officers in Los Angeles. Depraved. We'll see you soon. There he is right there. Meantime, Axios is reporting that town halls and one-on-one meetings, constituents, they want lawmakers to break the law. They want them to get tough. They want them to fight dirty and not be afraid to get hurt. In fact, they want them to get shot for the anti-Trump resistance. They want blood.
They want blood.
Yeah, coming from the left, I mean, they want to take away your guns, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah. Not only do they want blood, they want floods. And that's how they just plan to wipe out all the Trump voter base, is they're going to seed the skies with their weather modification devils and have the rain just do the dirty work for them.
Yep.
Well, let's connect this to another topic, which is the founder of Palantir. Check this out. Very interesting. How sad that a cloud seeding science project may have been the cause of the devastating flood in Texas. Cloud seeding was conducted over parts of Texas 2 days before the flash flood hit and killed more than 100 people. In addition, the CEO of the cloud seeding company is funded by, get this, Peter Thiel, connected to Palantir. Palantir's work includes tracking military movements and civilian data for government clients. Augustus Dorico is the 25-year-old who founded Rainmaker, a cloud seeding startup based in El Segundo, California. He dropped out of UC Berkeley, where he studied physics and data science, and joined the Thiel Fellowship, a program for young innovators created by Peter Thiel. Oh, very, very interesting. Whoa. Let's continue to read. Rainmaker focuses on using drones, radar, and silver iodide to enhance precipitation with a goal of fighting droughts, especially in the West. Dorico received a Thiel Fellowship, which provides $100,000 over 2 years to promising young entrepreneurs who forego college. In addition, 1517 Fund, led by Michael Gibson, a Thiel associate, invested $100,000 in Rainmaker in 2023 and $500,000 at a later date, revealing the indirect Thiel network support. Rainmaker has conducted cloud seeding operations in Texas as well as other states like Utah and Colorado as part of its mission to make more rain, and was seeding in Texas until July 2nd, 2 days before historic flooding began on July 4th in Kerr County. The Texas flooding along the Guadalupe River saw 12 to 15 inches of rain overnight, causing 26-foot rise in 45 minutes and killed more than 100 people. Wow, they're just bumping their numbers in this article itself. It's like by the time they got to the end of it, it was already up to 100-plus deaths. Anyways, Dorco reportedly admitted to seeding until July 2nd and said he stopped because of high moisture levels. The Texas National Guard has successfully rescued a total of 520 victims from the flood. This includes 361 air evacuations by UH-60 Blackhawks and 159 rescues with ground assets. Wow, that's an incredible operation, but extremely fascinating, the connection with the guy whose weather seeding operation is getting blasted all over the interwebs with this theory, and his connection with Peter Thiel, who founded Palantir, right? So why is this all connected? Partially, part of me thinks that it could be kind of a sleight of hand misdirection, because they're pointing at this particular startup as the culprit, but while simultaneously denying the fact that the U.S. government has been doing it with planes probably at a much greater degree than this startup guy. So this guy we're talking about, that the theory of him causing the floods through seeding, his program, it can't be that big if they're talking about using drones and stuff. So what's the difference between what that guy was doing and what the U.S. government is doing at higher altitudes with aluminum and barium? So with that shared, let's talk about Peter Thiel and, how this guy who's connected to these disastrous floods and weather modification upstarts, has a very significant role in the coming future. Check this out.
Bill that is causing some challenges for some people, and I'm kind of in agreement with them. U.S. Senate overwhelmingly rejects plan to stop states regulating AI. It's Financial Times. They voted 99-1 on Tuesday morning to reject a 10-year ban on states regulating AI models, removing the provisions from President Trump's big, beautiful bill, with Senator Marsha Blackburn stating it was an honor to lead this fight until Congress passes federal legislation like my No Fakes Act and the Kids Online Safety Act. We cannot remove those projections. And this is a proposal backed by lobbies from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI, Sam Altman, Trump's AI team, David Sachs, and others, aim to prevent inconsistent state rules, but face bipartisan opposition over concerns about stifling oversight of AI social and economic impact. Republican Senator Tom Tillis, the sole dissenter planning to retire, had told the Financial Times the provision was necessary to keep the U.S. the #1 country in the world for innovation. Tom, your thoughts on the story here?
Well, so you basically, there's a couple things here. If every state, made a different test for the number of miles per gallon of a car, then that sticker on the window when you go to buy a car would be madness. California, you know what I mean? Like if they all made different standards. So that's the argument the government is making. The argument that people like me are making for the states is, wait a minute, what about when DeSantis said, no, we're not going to do trans stuff in our schools, and we don't want a federal mandate on that. We know our people locally. No, I am not going to close all the beaches. I got people saying that UV is really good for killing bacteria and viruses, so why can't people be at the beaches in Florida during COVID? No, I'm not going to get behind that. That's the tension we have here. What worries me is the proposal was backed by lobbyists. That scares the hell out of me. Always. And then look who's lobbying: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI. So guess what? If all of those are lobbying the Senate,
they only need to get 100 people together and get 51 of them to go their way. Make sense?
Got it.
If it's in the hands of the states, all of those companies have to work with 50 different states, 50 different governors, and they don't want that. And they're claiming, oh, it's going to be like miles per gallon. The sticker on the car would be madness.
No, I get what they're saying. And trust me, I get from their perspective because it lowers the speed of growth and innovation. When we were in the Department of Insurance, we didn't just deal with the federal government on getting one license. We had to get a license in 50 states.
50 little governments.
And we dealt with every single one of the states. And trust me, it was super annoying. So I fully get that part. But for me, if I'm a state, I want to be able to govern and create certain laws with AI that may be different than somebody else's to be able to attract better talent, or to say, no, I'm not okay with you doing that. Is this DeSantis' clip talking about the same issue?
Yes, this is DeSantis late last month, late June, where he discusses why he was not in favor of the AI provisions in the big, beautiful bill.
Go for it. Go for it. Here's DeSantis.
So raises the issue of this whole artificial intelligence. They're talking about in Washington banning states from being able to regulate it at all for the next 10 years. And as governor, I want to be able to provide protections for you working with the legislature if that's warranted. This stuff is progressing so quickly, but you will absolutely get to a point where they can just take you, they can put words in your mouth and do a video, and you're basically saying something that's the opposite of what you actually believe, and they can have you depict you doing awful things. That's not the world that we want to live in. And so I think that the states need to be able to retain their ability to handle the emerging AI issues. So this is a really significant
you can pause
issue.
it right there. I'm with it because, again, if a state wants to be a little more liberal, guess what they do? They attract the people that want to have their AIs being done there. If somebody wants to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more conservative, then you may say, that may not be a place for me. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just about the AI. Do you remember about a year ago, the World Economic Forum had their list of the top 10 most pressing issues that the world is going to be facing
Yes.
for the next decade? And do you remember the number one on the list was misinformation and disinformation? Do you recall that?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. So this, I think, is the centerpiece of that. I mean, how many videos? I'm seeing AI videos of grandmas and grandpas talking about all sorts of sexual stuff. It's like, what just happened here? I saw Trump playing the World Cup and score the winning goal.
Yeah, what were you
I've
watching,
seen this.
bro?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty sexual. I've seen Taylor Swift sitting on Trump's lap. We've seen these deep fakes, this misinformation, this disinformation. We're getting to the point where we're not going to even know what's real and what's not real. They're talking about some of the highest earning women, real women, they're AI bots. So this might not be the number one issue right now, but if things turn out to go this way, we're going to circle back in 5 years and see if this turned out to be true.
And by the way, I don't even think that's what it is, though. I don't think they're worried about the deep fakes. I think they're worried about other type of regulation that they go above and beyond. Like, let's just say Palantir is trying to do something. They want to be able to say, as long as the federal government says it's okay, it's okay. And Florida wants to be able to say, no, we're not doing that in our state. We're not going to be doing this in our state. I think it's a little bit more than that. Is this the clip that was extremely disturbing?
This was with Peter Thiel sitting down with Ross Douthat, and he's talking about the Antichrist and how, the Antichrist could be ushered in through AI because he was warning this guy about it. By the way, Peter Thiel looks kind of odd, but listen to that. Look at how awkward he turns, Pat, once he mentions the Antichrist and him basically being able to usher him in if he's really going there. Play this clip, Robbie. That's going to be in the first.
My very specific question for you, right, is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools.
Look at
that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
Look at.
They're all look. There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit
looks like he's been holding onto the ring of power
permanent
for too long.
authoritarian rule.
Well,
by the way, he makes this is a very important question he's asking right there.
Huge.
He says, I don't think you're doing it, but how do you prevent from a guy?
gradations.
Go back 7 seconds, Rob. Could you go back 7 seconds? Keep going, keep going, keep going. 10 seconds. Yeah, play that clip from right there. I don't think you're doing it.
Rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
That's correct.
He looks.
How do we know that's not AI itself?
It's actually, Tom, what do you think about what he's saying?
Well, he's pointing. Peter Thiel sounds like, and I'm not inside his head, and there was a lot that was going on in that interview, but he's correctly pointing out that verse in 1 Thessalonians that says that the Antichrist will come. I bring peace, I bring safety. And what does everybody want right now? They want peace. And let's do a 16-week countdown. Let's look at the polling. And so we did that. And it was great programming that you chartered on Valuetainment. And one of the things that we found was state by state. Guess what was the closer you got to the southern border, immigration was number one. And that safety-related immigration was number one. Much different in Missouri than it was in Arizona. In Arizona, Republicans and Democrats were worried about it because in Arizona, it was on their front lawns. So what he's talking about is peace and safety-ism has been something that the voter and the citizen has wanted for 50 years or more. Look at how Germany agreed to things at the end of World War II because the Germans that were still alive in villages that weren't even connected to the Nazis, they just wanted it to stop so they could get back. And so they agreed to things, including, they didn't really protest and understand what was going on with the split of Germany that was happening. And so they went with peace and safety. So what he's talking about is very accurate. People look for peace and safety, and the Antichrist will come offering peace and safety. Now, I disagree. I do not think AI is going to hasten the arrival of the Antichrist. The sin of man will hasten the arrival of the Antichrist and hasten the return of the real Christ, Jesus Christ. However, along the way, the deception will be great. And I think that's the point he's trying to get to. But the other gentleman was making, I think was a good and fair point, aren't every advanced tool, like if you go look at all of the technological tools. You look at the DVD, you look at video games, you look at things that were going on, you look at the multi-camera angles that were on DVD. Do you know what the first industry always to use all of these entertainment advanced technology is?
Government?
Porn. Porn.
Yeah.
Porn was the first one to use all the advanced stuff on DVD. They say, imagine watching a movie from 5 different angles. Boom. Porn had it first. And so sinfulness and things goes first with usually technological advances because fraudsters used it before there's controls and evil people use it before there's laws and a sheriff.
So some interesting comments there from the founder of Palantir and their connection with the cloud seeding upstart in Texas. But I think what's concerning is just of the topic of Palantir, it currently what's happening is in the big beautiful bill that's very likely going to be signed into law by President Trump very soon, if it's not already been signed as of the airing of this episode. I think we have to be aware that within that is provisions to keep AI supervision out of the hands of the states for about 10 years. And that's really interesting. For one, not only the connection of the military packages being set up through the big beautiful bill to establish the U.S. as a leader in AI technology, and Palantir being one of these aspects of that. Interesting that they haven't passed an Internet Bill of Rights as of yet, and that we are even having through the big beautiful bill the right of the states to decide how to interact with certain AI regulations and what we do with AI on a state level has been withheld from the states and is going to be a federal thing. You know, so all of this is very suspicious. What are your guys' thoughts on Palantir and some of these concerns with Palantir coming up?
I think it's pretty scary. I mean, I'd like to know more about what they're going to do. I mean, what are your thoughts, Opa?
I don't think they're going to pass any kind of internet regulations because it's going to put handcuffs on them as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. I think it's very interesting. And once AI is in the game, it totally changes the way the internet can be regulated. And that's why Palantir is such a big deal, is because they're creating a database that can then be accessed by the computing prowess of quantum computers and these massive AI brains that they're going to be plugging in from Planet Starbucks. And, you know, you got to hook into good old Apple, you know, demigod or whatever, and then they'll tell you who needs to be taken care of and who's, you know, a worthy Matrix candidate, you know, so we go either way. Now, recently we've had a lot of misdirection away from the Jeffrey Epstein client list, and apparently there never was a list now, and we're having Bongino and Patel drastically backtracking on this publicizing of stuff, and I believe personally that there's a connection with Mossad, and some people believe that Donald Trump and his effects of trying to get Israel to back down from their war with Iran is holding this carrot over the head of the Israelis, that perhaps through Epstein, Mossad was using this blackmailing shenanigans to influence U.S. politics, and that's the information that's trying to be covered up. But check out this clip.
There is video. That is something the public does
There's
not
video
know.
of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay. There was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans.
This is that video. And if you look here, this is Jeffrey Epstein heading into his cell. So if you were thinking that this or this was the door to his cell, no. We don't actually see Epstein's cell in this video. It's somewhere over here, off screen. What's got everyone talking, though, is the appearance of some kind of video control panel at 11:20 here. And then, let's watch what happens at 11:59. Wow, would you look at that? We just lost a whole minute. Watch the clock. During this time, there's some movement at the officer station, but we now have an entire minute unaccounted for. People still obsess over a supposed missing frame in this video of an explosion at the Pentagon on 9/11. Now, this video is supposed to be the evidence to help convince us that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself and did not have a client list.
There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
I wonder, is there a single person on the planet who believes this? Kash Patel has been talking a lot about rebuilding trust with the American people.
How do you believe Americans will regain trust in our most important law enforcement agencies?
One thing. Exposure of corruption. Put out the documents, put out the evidence.
If they think closing the Jeffrey Epstein case like this and hoping it will go away will help with the rebuilding of trust, I fear they have severely miscalculated. The damage done is so severe, I would argue that Trump's entire legacy is at risk if things stay as they are now.
According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
What do you guys think of them backtracking on the Epstein case?
I think it's kind of like the Iran thing, like with they're strategically playing something, like they're purposefully not telling us until it's over, and then they'll release everything. But that's just my personal opinion.
I think, when do they not backtrack on stuff?
True. Well, this is not only a concern in terms of the promised documents and connection of the people that Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking to nobody. Very interesting. Here's a Blaze Media clip of them talking about this topic, and you guys will see why I think it's so interesting that this is all connected to, well, you'll see.
Jeffrey Epstein, because the way you have written about him, it connects to a whole world of corruption.
Yeah.
Is he kind of the Rosetta Stone?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a meta scandal. You're looking at someone who really had, I guess, for lack of a better metaphor, had his hands in a lot of pies, right?
Yeah, right.
So he was sort of at the center of a lot of scandals, but not necessarily at the top, right? I think he was more maybe middle management in a sense, but very central to a lot of these things going on, that sort of these networks in which he inhabits are involved in, numerous acts of corruption simultaneously.
Yeah.
And he, is there involved in many of them, but not necessarily at the top level, right?
So was he a spy?
I think he definitely had intelligence connections, and there's a lot, to suggest that was the case. I think one of the most, the earliest hints we heard of that was having a Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, under Trump, say that one of the reasons he was pressured into giving Epstein a sweetheart deal during his first arrest in Florida was because he had been told by unspecified actors that Epstein belonged to intelligence. But that's kind of, what exactly does that mean? Was he an asset? Was he on the payroll? Which intelligence agency? Multiple intelligence agencies?
Right.
When you have his close association with someone like Ghislaine Maxwell in the mix, and her father had affiliations with numerous intelligence agencies, it really is an open question.
He was kind of a bad guy. Yeah. I'm reading your work about him, and explain who he was.
So Robert Maxwell was involved in many things, but he definitely played a major role in undermining U.S. national security by selling bug software to nuclear laboratories in the United States. And this was directly facilitated by well-known statesmen in U.S. history, like Henry Kissinger, for example. And a lot of the people, I think, that enabled him, at least on the U.S. side, tend to be those that favor global governance and, they kind of don't want the U.S. to have that kind of monopoly on power.
Because all of his family, they were killed in the Holocaust, right?
Right.
And so he's in the West, England. He survives, becomes kind of William Randolph Hearst of England.
Yeah, media mogul, sure.
Yeah. And then betrays the West. And that's not because he was on the other, he wasn't on the Soviet side. He was on a global government side?
Well, I think you have to look at this network, and they've evolved over time, right? Robert Maxwell was very close to the Eastern Bloc. He had a very close relationship with intelligence figures in the KGB and also Bulgaria. He had a relationship with British intelligence and Israeli intelligence, and was involved in aspects of what later became known as Iran-Contra, which of course involves aspects of U.S. intelligence. So, I mean, he had his hands in, everywhere and everything. And I think ultimately people like him are interested in any deal they can make to advance their money and their power and their influence, they'll take it. So Robert Maxwell was very interested in having his family be like the Kennedy family, a political power dynasty. And that's part of why he started moving into New York City around, just a year or two before he ended up dying. And Ghislaine Maxwell was sent to New York sort of to be his emissary.
Wow.
into the U.S. and he wanted her actually to marry a Kennedy, and this is attested to in past mainstream media reports. And you can see his efforts to get her close to, I think, one of the sons of Robert F. Kennedy, and also John F. Kennedy Jr., trying to get her sort of in that social tier, because he sort of saw that as, would advance his power and also, that of his children. And I think if you look a lot at the psychology of Robert Maxwell, he seems to have had narcissistic elements, and that could be because of the trauma of his past. And a lot of times narcissistic parents see their children as extensions of themselves.
Yeah.
And so, he's looking at how to build an empire and using his children to that effect. And you sort of see that with the psychology of Ghislaine Maxwell as well.
So is Ghislaine, was she part and parcel of from the beginning, or was she, kind of a good girl, idealistic, comes over here, knows that dad wants to put her into powerful positions, but not shopping women?
I think it's a lot more complicated than that. You have to look at her early history. The favorite son of Robert Maxwell was originally Michael Maxwell. He was in a vegetative state after a car crash, I think when he was 15. And that happened shortly after, just a few days after Ghislaine was born. So her family members and she herself have attested to that she was basically neglected for the first 3 years of her life, and even developed childhood anorexia. Things like that. And then, not a few years after, she becomes the favorite child. So she goes from having this complete lack of parental attention to being sort of showered in it by Robert Maxwell. And that obviously is going to have a psychological impact on someone. And in addition, she was basically managed by her father from a very early age. He managed her, tried to manage her romantic life. He tried to manage what job she would have, and she was very dependent on him. So when he is dead in 1991, it makes sense that she would attach herself to someone with a lot of the similar characteristics, right?
So Dad didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein, wasn't alive at that point?
Well, the allegation have been made by people that worked with Robert Maxwell in the 80s that Jeffrey Epstein was seen in his offices frequently in the United Kingdom. And during that period of time, it was known that Epstein was active in the United Kingdom. He was allegedly being mentored by a British arms dealer named Douglas Leese with British intelligence connections.
God. First of all, you wrote 2 volumes on this.
1,000 pages.
Yeah, I mean, that is crazy amounts of work.
Yeah, my son was born in the middle of it, so it was really crazy.
You were there for that, I imagine, when your son was born. So tell me, 1,000 pages, and there's no fluff in it. I mean, it is.
It's dense.
It's very dense.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it nobody else is reporting on this?
Well, I guess I don't really know exactly why that would be, but the silence is very eerie about major aspects of the Epstein case. It ended up being 1,000 pages because as I was writing about Epstein, a lot of the connections that came up, I was just, increasingly aware that a lot of people in the American public, a lot of the names I was coming across, most people weren't going to be familiar with.
Correct.
Banks like the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or BCCI, the scandal that involved, or even things like Iran-Contra, people may have heard the name but don't really know what it involved. So I figured I was going to have to go back and sort of explain that to people. So that type of context is volume 1 of the book, and also the history of sexual blackmail and how it's been sort of an undercurrent in some past political scandals in American history, and how in these sorts of networks in which Epstein was inhabiting, that type of practice and exploitation even of minors for those purposes was actually disturbingly common. So Epstein starts to look less and less of he's not an anomaly, basically.
Right.
By the time you get through with volume 1. And so volume 2 is sort of my effort to, dig up as much as I could, with stuff that's publicly available, really, about Epstein, and also his greatest benefactor, Leslie Wexner, and then also, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay, so this is just...
There's a lot to discuss.
There's a lot to discuss here on just this, because this goes to the deep state, or you call it deep politics. And it's been going on for a long time, but people, I don't think, realize that, the Bourne Identity, those Jason Bourne movies, that is a reflection of some people's real lives. I mean, it's a totally fictitious story, but those things do go on. And I tell you, I have felt for a long time with the NSA, listening to everybody's phone calls. If you're important in Washington, they're going to do everything they can
to manage you. Yeah.
So if you're not rock solid in who you are and what right and wrong really is, they got you.
Yeah. But even they don't, today, I think we've moved away from the type of model that Epstein used for sexual blackmail. It's an era of electronic blackmail, and you don't even have to do anything wrong. They can just plant it on your devices and play gotcha that way. So it's really an unprecedented situation. And a lot of these intelligence agencies, as I note in the book, really for decades have been totally out of control. And I really start off the book talking about how intelligence agencies and organized crime in the U.S. got in bed together, and really that symbiosis. It was originally justified out of wartime necessity during World War II.
Fighting the Nazis.
Yeah, but it never stopped, right?
Right.
And it's, business is business. And some of these people in our own national security state, realized they could make a lot of money working with organized crime and really shielding them and getting in on the spoils, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys see how it all connects? So we watched a series of videos, and the reason we played them in the order we did is so that people can recognize that the reason Palantir is such a big deal and how the rise of Palantir paired with this retracing of steps when it comes to exposing the Epstein blackmail kind of empire going on at the upper echelons of government and all the people that went to that island, hand in hand, it's all happening before our eyes. And I think it's because it's tied to the revelation of method for the police state that we're about to enter into, which is going to be monitored by AI super devil deities, like these demons of Starbucks, Apple, and Microsoft that have been sold to the U.S. government's military arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great way to structure that. I like how you connected all those. That was pretty interesting. That last clip was that before or after the Epstein stuff came out? Like where they said, "Oh, well, it really didn't happen."
Well, yeah, that interview, they've been backpedaling since they said they had the form of all the names on their desk. That they've been backpedaling since they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna release it this week." So,
as much as I want to love Trump and his administration, like Dan Bongino and all them, they were very vocal about Epstein and all this stuff and how they're having to backpedal. So I think it's super interesting that they're now saying nothing happened. It's weird to me.
Yeah. Who got to him? Who got to him? Just a few more things just to rattle off real quick here. A CIA review reveals Obama pushed intelligence community to launch the Trump-Russia witch hunt. Oh, very interesting. So apparently, according to the CIA review, Obama pushed the intel community to go Trump-Russia collusion stuff. We already know that the Biden administration was pretty much run by the Obamas and Clintons from the background. So it's kind of interesting. Check this one out. U.S. aid quietly sent thousands of Vs to Chinese military-linked biolab. Wow. So underneath this whole Doge effort to expose U.S. aid, we might be uncovering who actually was behind the funding that caused the pandemic. Very interesting. And this last clip I thought was very interesting, and it's tied to Palantir. It's tied to the coming police state and social credit system. What do we do when we're in a world environment where AI can literally have access to any and all information? It just paves the way to the most influential, strict social credit system there possibly can be. Because the only answer for defending a person's rights in terms of data collection is to put everyone on the same playing field and say that everybody has access to everybody's data and everybody then self-governs and polices. And that's what the social credit system that we see in places like China are kind of set up in a way like that, where in that system, the government, of course, has their finger on the button of the social credit system. But check this out. A Redditor visiting Istanbul was sexually harassed by the ice cream guy, and she shared the video on a 73,000 subreddit, and authorities took action and shut down the business. So this ice cream guy, he harassed a Redditor, right? She shares the video of what he did, and the authorities then come in and police him. And what if it's a good thing? This guy was probably a jerk. He was probably being a pervert or whatever. But think about the far-reaching implications when the police state of angry Redditors and Facebook wall trolls can have a direct impact on your freedoms and your life. If you do something or say something that they don't like, cancel culture will come to your door and shut your business down. And I think that's the fear that a lot of people have of these social credit systems, but we see how it can work for the positive. But of course, what about when, they're asking you do you believe, and so you're going to worship him, even though he called himself the Antichrist? It's just a fab name. Well, hopefully you guys can get at what I'm just, joking around and alluding to, but this is the start of the online world's influence on our day-to-day lives. So this final video, a man with a extremely high IQ, if not the highest in the world currently, came out confirming that he believes that Jesus will be back anytime now. What? Check this out.
I am the world's highest IQ record holder, Young-Hoon Kim. I say this not just with human logic, but with divine revelation. Jesus Christ will return in our generation. This is a truth revealed to me by God the Father and the Holy Spirit. I have received grace not only through faith, but through the gift of the world's highest IQ score and record. My intelligence is not from me. It is a sign from God, a gift to testify to His truth. And it is the evidence that I have been commissioned to see what others ignore and speak what others fear. Modern science shows that time is not fixed. Einstein proved that time moves differently depending on speed and gravity. So when Jesus said, "This generation will not pass away until all these things happen," he was speaking from eternity, not human clocks. And quantum physics teaches that what we believe and observe can shape what becomes real. When many begin to see the truth, the prophecy becomes the present, and that is exactly what is happening now. Look around. We create artificial intelligence that think, but forget how to think ourselves. We edit our DNA, but deny who we truly are. And we kill the unborn and call it freedom. And we confuse truth with opinion, and we worship progress instead of God. This is not evolution or progress. It is absolutely collapse. And it matches exactly what Jesus wanted: lies, lawlessness, betrayal, and people don't care about each other anymore. Jesus said, when you see these things begin to happen, know that I am near, right at the door. We have seen them, and He is at the door. I do not call myself a prophet, but I have received a prophetic grace. I did not invent this message. God gave it to me, and He gave me the world's highest IQ score as proof of His calling, not for my glory, but to speak His truth boldly. And by the witness of science, history, scripture, and most of all, the Spirit, I declare Jesus Christ is God, and He is returning now. This is not religion. This is the ultimate truth. So we should repent. We should prepare, not for tradition, but for the return of the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, the Lord of everything, the Lord of all.
All right. So that was posted recently by the world's highest IQ. It was interesting that he mentioned some of these things that we're witnessing on the world stage. Various things that we actually even covered in today's news segment. Just the lack of love of people because of their political agenda. They're laughing and mocking at the death of children. And not only that, but the earthquakes and volcanoes and floods in diverse places that we're seeing is very interesting. The wars, famines, and rumors of wars. And, of course, this what's good is evil and what's evil is good. We're seeing it in the streets. We're seeing a reverse of family roles. And we're seeing the same ideology as ancient empires that quickly fell after particular thought patterns took hold. But it's just interesting. But with that, that's all the news for this week, gentlemen. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for another great current news as always, Jake. And now a quick look at my new book, Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not. Something in the mail today. Can I open it up? See what it is. Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. It's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. Look at those things.
Here they are.
To Danny's boy. So now if you guys buy this in our Babylon Rising bookstore, you get a free signed copy for the same price. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys want a special edition of the book, go there.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
It's about that time for an all-new Uppa's Corner. Take it away, Uppa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you. Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it! You're a loony.
Between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Americans consume a staggering 7 billion hot dogs. That's about 818 hot dogs per second. Believe it or not. For a short time, starting in 1886, the Statue of Liberty served as a functioning lighthouse. Now it doesn't function at all. Believe it or not. The phrase one-trick pony comes from the old circus acts where some ponies were trained to perform just one trick. I am a no-trick pony. Believe it or not. John Lennon amused by a student's letter about analyzing Beatles lyrics, wrote "I am a walrus" with intentionally confusing and meaningless lyrics. Goo-goo gajoob. Believe it or not. A New Orleans crime boss's pet parrot was allegedly placed in hiding following its owner's arrest because it heard too much and could repeat things that made it a target.
What about the bear?
Believe it or not. One of the first narrative TV shows in the U.S. was The Television Ghost, which debuted in 1931. A single actor dressed as a murder victim would tell the story of their death. Believe it or not. One of the first in-flight movies was a silent film accompanied by a live orchestra playing on the ground with the music broadcast to the audience by radio. Believe it or not. The British government once considered bagpipes to be an instrument of war. Amen to that. Believe it or not. If one of your grandparents was born in Ireland, you can claim Irish citizenship, no matter where you live or where you were born. Believe it or not. Since 2004, at least 13 people in the U.S. have been accidentally shot by a dog. Okay, you can have another bone. Believe it or not. Norwegian-American farmer Hans Langseth grew his beard to an astonishing length of 17 feet 6 inches. You got a ways to go, Jake. Believe it or not. In 2013, financial experts in an investing contest were beaten by a cat named Orlando. He would throw a toy mouse on a grid of numbers representing different companies. Okay, Charlie, what company should I invest in? Believe it or not. Research shows that viewing cat pictures and videos online can increase your energy and positive emotions. Believe it or not. During Japan's Edo period, wealthy homeowners intentionally installed squeaky floors to serve as an alarm system. Believe it or not. Director Steven Spielberg was rejected from the University of Southern California's film school 3 times. Believe it or not. Warning: the content of the following videos have not been verified by Opa's Corner. Viewer discretion advised.
This is the largest coincidence in history. See if your history teacher can explain this. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost a child while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were shot in the head. Now, it gets really weird. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their 3 names. Both names are composed of 15 letters. Now hang on to your seat. Lincoln was shot at the theater named Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car called Lincoln, made by Ford. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. And here's the kicker. A week before Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with Marilyn Monroe. Lincoln was shot in a theater, and the assassin ran to a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and the assassin ran to a theater.
Time trap.
Historical events you didn't know were happening simultaneously. The iconic cover photo of the Beatles' Abbey Road album was taken on the same day that the Manson murders were taking place. In 1940, the U.S. saw the opening of the first McDonald's restaurant, all while Poland saw the opening of the infamous Auschwitz concentration camp. William Shakespeare and the real Pocahontas were alive at the same time and died within 1 year and 100 miles of each other. The last of the woolly mammoths were still roaming the earth when the Great Pyramids were under construction. Emmett Till was killed the same year as Lady and the Tramp was in theaters. The company Nintendo was founded in 1888, the same year as Jack the Ripper was on his killing spree in London. Charles Darwin and Abraham Lincoln were both born on the exact same day in the year 1809. The Last Samurai was still alive when the first ever telephone call was made back in 1876. Theoretically, The Last Samurai could have made a telephone call to Queen Victoria almost 150 years ago.
You didn't know this. This is the pyramid of Kukulkan, as it appeared in 1860 when it was rediscovered by archaeologists on the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. Built in the 11th century AD, it holds an incredible secret. If you clap your hands near the pyramid, you'll hear a mysterious sound that mimics the call of the sacred Quetzal bird, believed to be a divine symbol of the ancient Maya.
This video is from Rosie B. The security camera inside her home recorded her daughter having a strange encounter in the kitchen. Her daughter looks like she's talking to someone that we can't see. When her mother seen the footage and asked her what happened, she said a little boy and girl tried to take her things away from her. Let's watch.
These 3D billboards look so real where they show different animations, like a lion breaking through the glass and jumping onto the street, which even had this lady scared, or a Resident Evil character punching through and breaking out. So many of these have went viral for how incredible they look and immediately stop everyone on the street.
It's like Back to the Future.
If you steal their piano, I won't call the police.
Took longer than I thought it would.
Big Dog Support Group.
I'm tired of people assuming I'm ferocious. I'm delightful. The only thing I've ever attacked is a pepperoni pizza. I don't want to be a guard dog. I want to be a dancer.
Uh-oh, Bob. Your check engine light is on.
Lucky for us, the cartoonist is a lousy speller.
Oh, those are some serious hiccups, Bob. Has your soul been saved? I have some literature I'd like to share with you. DC-9 A320.
Oh, that's a bonus feature. You can plug in your iPhone into that, and your new pacemaker will charge it.
February 22nd, 1946. Botanists create the first artificial flower. Ugh, I can't stand it when dogs do baby bark to their person. Bark, 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 bark. Whoa, that was a good one. Try it, Hobbs. Just poke his brain right here where my finger is. Primitive theme parks. Future World. Yeah, right. No pulse. Looks like he slipped. Gotta hand it to him, though. He stayed crunchy, even in milk.
That's rigor mortis.
Millennial bucks. Stick your tongue out more. Oh, this is gonna get so many likes.
It's been a tough year health-wise. In June, I had to have my appendix taken out. And last week, I had a dangling participle removed.
Employee of the Month Awards.
Let's hear it for Gary, who invented a roll of tape that actually has no starting edge.
Okie dokie corral. Well, no wonder.
This ain't the place.
House of Pancakes. Can I help you? Not that one, Ted. You know I don't like scary movies. Now showing. Hoover. Gone Squirrel. Action-packed. Coming soon. Leg. Mature audience only. Rumor has it he was the inspiration for a chart topper back in '72. Hello, I'm Silver. Hello, I'm Trigger. Hello, I'm Mr. Ed. Hello.
Donkey?
A tragedy occurs off the coast of a land called Honolulu. Uh-oh, Vern. The shoe markers are in the tree again. We'll have to spray. The building is finished, but we have these leftover parts. IKEA. Is this legal? Miss Molly. Miss Molly. Miss Molly. Oh, that's Slade. The state gives us $800 a month to house them here, and it helps them with prison overcrowding. It's a masterpiece. Actually, it was awful, but technically she's my master, so I'm not lying. Besides, she gave me a bone. And yes, Norman was beheaded, cleaned, and picked. But we all know Norman's wacky sense of humor, and we can take comfort knowing he would have gotten a kick out of this. Now, before we hit the beach, let's briefly review the scoring system. Waders, 1 point. Swimmers, 5 points. Surfers, 15 points. Kayakers, 20 points. Lifeguards, 50 points. Fishermen, 500 points. You have to prime it, you know. Driver is old. Can't hear your horn. Can't see your finger. Have a nice day. Road closed. No left turn. No right turn. No U-turn. Stop. What to do? What to do? And that concludes another Opa's Corner. Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you, Opa, for another great Opa's Corner. Now, this week's History's Mysteries is brought to you by our good friend Kristen, so check this out. I want to introduce you guys to somebody named Kristen, who's one of the biggest forces behind Skiba News Nation. This is Kristen. She's probably the biggest help on Skiba News Nation that we have behind the scenes. She helps us get all the big guests. I understand that you're doing this full time now, so how can people find out how to use your service?
Well, I started Fellow Helper Agency, and you can go to fellowhelperagency.com. And I do any of the behind the scenes, email, getting the interviews, and I do prep work for the shows as well. I do timestamps and moderating, and then I've also learned how to do clips and making shorts out of the shows as well. And I was a producer for a documentary recently.
She is the best with connects. If you like any of our shows, any of our big guests, she's the person to go to. And if you have a channel, definitely go to our website.
Yeah, I enjoy what I do. I'm enjoying doing new stuff. I enjoy doing the same stuff I've been doing. I enjoy working for the community and being part of the team.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you.
Thank you for all your help.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
So go check out fellowhelperagency.com. It's time for an all-new History's Mysteries. So this week's History's Mysteries, we're going to be diving into the mysterious life and death of somebody named Dorothy Kilgallen. Wikipedia states that Dorothy Kilgallen was born on July 3rd, 1913, and died November 8th, 1965. She was an American columnist, journalist, and television game show panelist. And later on, she became a true crime reporter, had a deep connection to the JFK assassination, which is what makes it really interesting. So let's learn a little bit more about who Dorothy Kilgallen was in this first clip, so check this out.
On the morning of Monday, November 8, 1965, Mark Sinclair, a well-known hairdresser to the stars, entered the Manhattan townhouse of one of his closest friends, Dorothy Kilgallen. A well-known journalist, columnist, and TV and radio personality, Dorothy lived at 45 East 68th Street and had arranged with Mark the night before for him to be at her home by 9 a.m. to style her hair. Mark Sinclair had his own key to Dorothy's house and let himself in at around 8:30 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. before making his way upstairs to her bedroom. Finding Dorothy absent from her usual room, Mark proceeded to set out his equipment and switched on his curling iron before going to look for his friend. Dorothy had stopped sleeping in the master bedroom after finding her husband in the marital bed with another woman, and the room was subsequently used as Dorothy's dressing room. But when Mark opened the door, he found Dorothy sitting up in the middle of the bed. When he touched her, however, he knew that she was dead. In an interview with author Mark Shaw on the Dorothy Kilgallen story, Mark Sinclair described the moment he found his friend. She was dressed very peculiarly. She was dressed like I'd never seen her before. She always dressed in pajamas and old socks when she went to bed. Her makeup was off, her hair was off, and everything was done, but she was completely dressed like she was going out. Her hair was in place, her makeup was on, the false eyelashes were on, the matching peignoir and robe, book laid out on the bed, a drink on the table, the light was on, the air conditioning was on. Though you didn't need an air conditioner, you would have had the heat on, and she was always cold. Why she had the air conditioning on, I don't know. At the age of just 52, Dorothy Kilgallen was dead. Not much is known about Dorothy Kilgallen's childhood. She was born on July 3rd, 1913 in Chicago, Illinois, the oldest of two daughters of journalist James Lawrence Kilgallen and May Kilgallen, née Ahern, a promising singer before her marriage. The family moved around the United States according to where her father was working before settling in New York City in 1920 when James secured work for the International News Service. It was no surprise that Dorothy went into journalism. Her father had a distinguished career covering some high-profile cases, including the Lindbergh-Hauptmann trial, the Bikini Atoll atomic bomb experiments, and Germany's surrender at Reims, France in 1945. She was really bitten by the journalism bug when, at the age of 17, she dropped out of college and began working as a reporter for the New York Evening Journal. She became known known, even in the early days of her career, for covering high-profile cases, including that of Anna Antonio, the abused wife who hired a hitman to kill her husband, and along with her father, Bruno Richard Hauptmann, the German-born carpenter who was convicted of abducting and murdering the 20-month-old son of aviator Charles Lindbergh. In 1936, at the age of 23, Dorothy took part in a race around the world, competing against two fellow journalists, Bud Ekins of the New York World Telegram and Leo Kieran of the New York Times, using only methods of transport available to ordinary members of the public. It took Dorothy 24 days to complete the trip, which saw her report daily on her adventures in places such as Germany, Hong Kong, Manila, and Hawaii, before finishing in second place to Bud Elkins, who completed the race just 3 days earlier. While the race catapulted her name further into the public domain, it was her column, Voice of Broadway, that cemented her as a household name. Started in November 1938, the New York Journal American column focused on show business and celebrity gossip, but Dorothy also covered more contentious subjects such as organized crime and politics. Hugely successful, the column was syndicated to 146 newspapers and ran until her death. In 1940, Dorothy married actor and singer Richard Colmar and went on to have 3 children together: Richard in 1941, Jill in 1943, and Kerry in 1954. They remained married, despite infidelities and scandal, until Dorothy's death in 1965. The early days of the marriage saw both Dorothy and Richard launch themselves into radio broadcasting, with Dorothy's Voice of Broadway being broadcast during World War II, while her husband played the starring role in crime drama Boston Blackie. In April 1945, the couple co-hosted a show together called Breakfast with Dorothy and Dick. As one of the panelists on the hugely popular show What's My Line, Dorothy became a firm favorite, but away from the glitz and glamour of the TV studios, she was known for being a steely journalist, reporting on high-profile murder cases. In fact, it was because of her unrelenting investigative style that Sam Shepard, on trial for allegedly murdering his wife, was granted a retrial and subsequently acquitted. However, Dorothy Kilgallen was also deeply immersed in politics and often reported on highly controversial topics. Friends of the journalist claimed that she received information from the CIA on a regular basis and was considered a CIA asset. On July 15, 1959, she became the first journalist to suggest that the CIA and the Mafia were working together in order to assassinate the Cuban president, Fidel Castro, a move that set her firmly in the FBI's sights. A close friend of John F. Kennedy, Dorothy was privy to information about his affairs, but steadfastly refused to report on them, despite the fact that it would have been a huge scoop in her already flourishing career. That all changed, though, on August 3, 1962, when she broke the story about his relationship with Hollywood actress Marilyn Monroe. Although she never actually named him, the facts were enough for readers to identify JFK as Monroe's paramour. Just 1 day later, Marilyn Monroe was dead.
So she was way ahead of her time when it comes to the CIA and calling them out, and that might have had something to do with her death. And so this next clip, we're going to be talking about the theories and the JFK connection. So check this out.
On the afternoon of Friday, November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was riding in a Lincoln Continental convertible with his wife Jacqueline Kennedy in Dallas, Texas, as part of a campaign tour. The earlier rain had stopped, so the plastic bubble top that would usually protect the president from inclement weather had been removed. As the car turned off Main Street and passed a Texas school book depository, a gunshot was heard, followed by 2 more. That first bullet missed the presidential motorcade, but the second shot hit the president in the back, while the third struck him in the back of the head. Half an hour later, John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead at Parkland Memorial Hospital. Dorothy Kilgallen was devastated at the death of her friend, and became very vocal in her belief that Lee Harvey Oswald, the man accused of single-handedly carrying out the assassination, was part of a conspiracy to take out the president and hadn't acted alone. Oswald himself was murdered just 2 days later inside Dallas County Jail by Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby, adding fuel to the already raging fire that there was a massive cover-up. Her determination to get to the truth began on November 29, 1963, when she wrote in her column, "The case is closed, is it? Well, I'd like to know how, in a big smart town like Dallas, a man like Jack Ruby, owner of a striptease honky-tonk, can stroll in and out of police headquarters as if it was a health club at a time when a small army of law enforcers is keeping a tight security guard on Oswald." Security? What a word for it. That is why so many people are saying there is something something queer about the killing of Oswald, something strange about the way his case was handled, a great deal missing in the official account of his crime. The American people have just lost a beloved president. It is a dark chapter in our history, but we have the right to read every word of it. It cannot be kept locked in a file in Dallas. Thanks to a contact within the Dallas Police Department, Dorothy was able to go through a minute-by-minute account of what transpired on the day of the assassination, and found multiple discrepancies. She began to file a dossier on the assassination and continued to report aggressively, claiming that several witnesses had been intimidated by the FBI and the Dallas police. A lot of what Dorothy learned in the time leading up to her death was kept to herself. She had struck up a friendship, some said it was more than platonic, with Ron Pataki, an entertainment writer for the Columbus Citizen-Journal, who claimed that Dorothy had been working on a book about the JFK assassination, although she maintained publicly that it was a collection of stories covering the famous murder trials she had reported on throughout her career. One of the most important breakthroughs in her pursuit of the truth about JFK's murder was when she obtained a copy of the Warren Commission, a report which covered, in detail, the assassination of the president. Dorothy reported on the findings, which uncovered the failings of the police in questioning Jack Ruby and their refusal to follow up on the many leads given by the man in custody. The FBI was sent to Dorothy's home to interrogate her on where she got her information from, to which she steadfastly replied that she would die rather than reveal her source's identity, further stating that the FBI would have been of better use pursuing the facts of the case instead of where she got her information from. Dorothy believed she was close to cracking the case and told friends, "In 5 more days I'm going to bust this case wide open." However, she was only too well aware that 2 reporters who had also been working on the case had been murdered. Bill Hunter, April 23, 1964, was shot through the heart by accident by a detective who said he and his partner had been playing cops and robbers, and Jim Coate, September 21, 1964, who was writing a book about the assassination and was murdered by a single karate chop to his throat when an intruder broke into his Dallas apartment. On November 7, 1965, Dorothy appeared in what was to be her last ever episode of What's My Line. Before meeting producer Bob Back for a drink, she went on to meet a mystery man in the bar of the Regency Hotel, where she was seen at around 2 a.m., before apparently making a phone call some 30 minutes later. It was the last known time that she was seen alive. Dorothy Kilgallen's death was ruled as an accidental overdose of alcohol and barbiturates. Although she did take prescription drugs to help her sleep, the autopsy revealed that she had a combination of 3 barbiturates in her system, the prescribed Seconal, as well as Tunal and Nembutal. Furthermore, the glass found beside her bed had traces of a white powdery substance, leading many to conclude that she had been drugged.
So, very interesting that all these things seem to happen, and it's interesting that all these different people that were actually doing journalistic, like what you're supposed to do as a journalist, were being picked off one by one. And she might have been one of the last real journalists that we've had that hasn't been controlled by the CIA or the FBI or our government. So this is our last clip, and then I want to get up in Jake's opinion. So let's play this final clip.
Many people believe, and the official findings state, that Dorothy Kilgallen's death was caused by an accidental overdose. Prescribed by her doctor, Dorothy would take 2 capsules a night. The autopsy showed that the amount of secobarbital sodium, the active ingredient in the sleeping tablets, equated to 15 or 20 tablets. That fact alone should have ruled out an accidental overdose. Of course, there was speculation that Dorothy's overdose was intentional. It was well known that the journalist had been under a lot of stress in the weeks leading up to her death and had even had threats to her life. Friends claimed that she was looking forward to what the future held and was excited about finishing the book she had been working on. They said that she would never have sought to bring her life to an end. Were the mafia involved in her death? Dorothy had contacts in the mafia, and it was also thought that an interview she did with Jack Ruby following his arrest may have uncovered their involvement in the president's assassination. After all, Jack Ruby himself was involved in organized crime. Still others thought that maybe Dorothy met her demise because her investigations had unwittingly revealed information about the CIA's involvement in covert operations linked to the Cold War. Tensions were high at the time of her death, and it's possible, according to some people, that she stumbled across sensitive information that would have compromised the country's position. Did she find herself up to her neck in espionage and lose her life in order to silence silence her. Dorothy's husband, Richard, admitted destroying some of her papers following her death and refused to discuss any details. It was a badly kept secret that the couple were estranged. Did Dorothy hold some information on her husband's infidelities that he wanted to keep away from the public eye? Aside from those who believed that Dorothy Kilgallen's death was either a tragic accident or her way out of an untenable situation, the most touted, and we believe the most probable theory, is that she was murdered before she could reveal what she knew about John F. Kennedy's assassination. During her investigation into his death, Dorothy had built a sizable file, which she never left out of her sight. She was a diligent, highly organized journalist and kept meticulous notes, yet following her death, these notes disappeared, suggesting that her death had been engineered to stop those files ever finding their way into the public domain. Furthermore, it was widely believed that the way in which Dorothy's body had been found was staged. She never slept with her makeup on or wearing her false eyelashes, and the light was still on in the bedroom. If this was an accidental overdose, she would surely have removed her makeup and got ready for bed before switching off the light. Interestingly, when Marilyn Monroe's body was discovered following Dorothy's expose about her affair with JFK, her light was also left on, and she died in a similar manner to Dorothy. More telling still is the fact that she was found in the bed she used to share with her husband, a bed neither of them had slept in since she discovered him in it with a mistress. A stranger, a hired hitman perhaps, would not have known about the couple's sleeping arrangements and could well have assumed that the master bedroom was the logical location in which to place her body. Dorothy's death was totally unexpected, and yet the autopsy was not performed straight away. Even more disturbing is the fact that the death certificate was signed by Dr. DeMaio. Dominic DeMaio was not even in Manhattan at the time of the autopsy and could not explain how his signature came to be on the certificate. The autopsy was performed by a Dr. James Luke. While we may never know what really happened to Dorothy Kilgallen, it seems clear that all was not as it seemed with her death. A real trailblazer for women and not afraid to stand up for the truth, Dorothy's untimely death has left many questions unanswered. Sadly, unless her missing files resurface and fall into the right hands, it seems that her secrets will remain buried with her forever.
Now, in my opinion, she had evidence that, probably exposed a lot of stuff that was happening with the JFK investigation. And, I want to get Opa's opinion because, Opa, you used to watch What's My Line? You still watch it. What do you think about this whole Dorothy Kilgallen murder cover-up?
Well, I really do think that she was really on to something as far as the Kennedy assassination, and the fact that she said that she was about 5 days away from, just blowing the top off of everything. I think that really precipitated whoever was involved with the JFK assassination had to do something really quick to stop it all. And I think it's a shame. She was a really, really good reporter, a very bright woman, and obviously too bright.
Yeah, too bright for her own good, I guess. I mean, it's sad. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think you see a pattern in how they conduct these quieting acts. I mean, the way that they silence those who might be their greatest critics is pretty alarming. I mean, there seems to be like a coordinated effort between people using the legal system to hide what actually is going on, and also using official documentation to kind of shoo away any requests for an alternative perspective to be brought to the light.
Yeah, I just think it's a super interesting case, and I'd like to hear you guys' comments down in the comment section. And let me know what you think about the whole Dorothy Kilgallen mystery. Do you think it was an accidental overdose, or do you think maybe the three-letter agency was to blame for quieting somebody who was way ahead of their time? So, yeah, that's all I got. You got some memes for me, Jake?
Yeah, we got some funny videos this week, too. You guys are going to love it.
All right, let's roll.
Meet me up.
Hey, I've always wondered what being inside of a monster truck actually looks like. And now we have a first-person cam showing us exactly what the experience is. We all get to watch on the big screen. Check this out. Yeah, what did you think about that? That's pretty cool, seeing how it is to be so high up, you know, doing those flips and stuff.
I mean, it looks like it can roll pretty well, so, I mean, jumps like that would be awesome. You could just run over cars. I think I've only been to one monster truck rally, but that'd be pretty epic to get in one of them. So if any of you guys can make that happen, me and Jake would do it.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. Well, this next clip I think is super funny. It's a rebranding of the tourist industry in a place that formerly was run by terrorists. Check this out.
We have one message for America.
Welcome to Afghanistan.
What's up, Yusuf?
And the American souvenir.
Oh, it's not even on safety right now. 10-pound round fat.
So, anyways, the Afghani tourist industry is rebranding. Come on over.
Looks like fun.
Yeah, it looks like a place I'd like to go to.
Yeah. Well, this one I know you'll appreciate, Jeremiah. This is a boy who is able to communicate with dozens of types of birds, if not more. Check this out.
Who is autistic and has Tourette syndrome can perfectly imitate 50 birds.
What's the hardest bird to do?
Probably the barn swallow.
How's that go? Do you ever think you might be a bird?
Yeah.
Samuel, who is autistic.
I'm not that autistic.
You know, man, that was so crazy. It applies with you and being Jack Sparrow. I think that's kind of like he does birds, you do Jack Sparrow. Is that right?
Yeah, I could do Jack Sparrow.
Well, speaking of Jack Sparrow, I'm going to put the picture right here. I took my daughters to the NRA museum at the Bass Pro Shop in a nearby city, and they have the actual pistol of Jack Sparrow from the movies, and I thought you'd like that. So,
very cool.
I figured you'd like that. Here's a dystopian clip of remote workers being paid $3.75 an hour in Tokyo to stock shelves with robots. Check this out. What would you feel like if you had a job like that? You just sat at home all day and played a video game?
Well, I mean, I feel like it would kind of be work just without all the heavy lifting. So you'd be getting a workout in too, but you know, I'd rather physically be there, you know?
Yeah, unless it's a job for the military, then you can just play COD and be killing noobs across the world with a AI robot.
Right.
Right on. Well, because we covered the topic this week, I think these memes are hilarious. Here's Ghislaine Maxwell. If there are no clients, why am I in jail?
It's Good point.
Oh, the backpedaling is crazy. In other news, Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of trafficking minors to nobody 3 years ago. Ah, wow. Well, what about that document, right? We have the files and we will release the list. So we investigated and there's no list. Oh, man. Yeah, and you made a comment about Trump this episode, and it is interesting. Word's starting to get out. The big question mark of why is it we're not getting these files? Breaking. Donald Trump has released a statement proving that he never met Jeffrey Epstein. Not that it matters. Either way, we're all going to be watched by the FBI, while all the people that have been watched by the FBI committing atrocious crimes are protected and covered up. But I thought this one was great from Hebrew Hahas, my FBI agent, reading my posts and coming to the truth. And I feel a lot like this when it comes to just conspiracies as well, not only speaking about the biblical truths we share, but just in general. Sometimes it makes me wonder if we ever make a good point. And, you know, the handlers or whatever are like listening to me and your conspiracies, Jeremiah, and they're like, wow, they have a real good one right there. Let's take some notes and, you know.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's all the memes and little funny videos for this week.
All right, thanks, Jake, for another great current news. Memes as always. Opa, thanks for another great Opa's Corner, and I hope you enjoyed today's histories, mysteries, and the episode as a whole. Stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned.
If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Ross Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.